My name is Brianna. Sitting in this small, plain motel room, the silence is deafening. The phone in my hand had been buzzing with calls and messages not too long ago, but now it's quiet again. The screen still glows softly, showing the last message from Mom, "Please pick up. It's urgent." I couldn't help but scoff at that word urgent. It was far from urgent when I was told to leave my home. My mind drifts back to that fateful night. I come from a well-to-do family in a small town. My parents, Mr. and Mrs. Thompson, are successful business owners. Dad is a stoic man, always focused on his work and reputation. Mom, on the other hand, is a controlling woman who values appearances above all else. My younger sister, Lily, is the apple of their eyes. She's charming, talented in her own way, but also incredibly manipulative. I was always the one in the background, the one who didn't cause any trouble. Everything in our house revolved around Lily. Her every whim was catered to, and I was just expected to be understanding and quiet. One evening, as I was sitting in the living room, Mom walked in with a cold look on her face. "Your sister gets sick every time she sees your face," she said, her voice like ice. "Pack your things tonight." I wasn't shocked. Deep down, I had always known that I was the extra one in this family. I didn't argue, didn't cry, and didn't even ask why. I just stared at Mom for a second, hoping to see a hint of hesitation in her eyes. But there was none. Behind her, Lily was sitting on the couch, wrapped in a fluffy blanket, looking like a victim. She didn't even have the courage to look me in the eye. Dad was there too, as silent as always, pretending that this was just a normal situation. "Pack your things." "Tonight," Mom repeated, her voice even colder. I walked to my room, the room where I had grown up. The walls had witnessed my countless nights of crying. I opened my closet and grabbed just one bag. Something inside me had snapped quietly. If they could throw me out like I was nothing, then I would leave like I needed nothing. I picked up the bag and walked out of the room without a backward glance. The front door closed behind me with a soft click, but it sounded like the loudest noise I had ever heard. It was like the end of a story that I had no say in. The first night was a nightmare. I sat in my car, parked under a dim streetlight, staring at my phone for hours. I half expected Dad to reach out, to tell me that this had gone too far, or to ask me to come back. But there were no messages, no calls, nothing. So, I drove to a cheap motel on the outskirts of town. It was the kind of place where no one asked questions, and I didn't have to answer any either. I paid for a few nights, dropped my bag on the bed, and just sat there in silence. I thought I would feel broken, that I would cry or scream. But instead, I felt empty. It was as if a weight that I hadn't even realized I was carrying had been lifted off my shoulders. As the days passed, I started to notice the little things. Life was so quiet without the constant tension at home. I didn't have to walk on eggshells every morning. There were no more accusations, no more guilt trips, and no more comparisons to Lily. By the third day, I stopped checking my phone every few minutes. By the fourth day, I stopped expecting anything from them at all. I found a small, cozy cafe nearby and started spending my mornings there. With a cup of coffee, a notebook, and the sweet sound of silence, I could finally hear my own thoughts. To my surprise, those thoughts weren't angry or sad. They were clear. I started writing down what I wanted, things that I had ignored for years just to keep the peace at home. Slowly, I could feel a shift inside me. On the fifth day, I came to a realization. Maybe getting kicked out wasn't the worst thing that had ever happened to me. Maybe it was the first honest thing my family had ever done. There were no more false smiles, no more fake shows of concern. The truth was laid bare, and strangely enough, it felt freeing. But still, a small part of me waited. I didn't need them, but I wanted to see if they would ever realize what they had done. 6 days passed in complete silence. No calls, no messages. Then, on the 7th day, I made up my mind. I wasn't going back, no matter what. If they could throw me away so easily, I wasn't going to wait around to be discarded again. That night, as I sat on the edge of the motel bed, about to turn off my phone for good, the screen lit up. It was a call from Dad. I just stared at it, not moving. It stopped, and then Mom called. And then again, and again. And finally, Lily. I let the phone ring and ring. At first, it felt empowering. I was in control of my own life for the first time. But as the calls kept coming, something else dawned on me. Not guilt, not weakness. It was clarity. After 7 days of silence, after they had thrown me out like I was nothing, they were calling now. Then, a message from Mom came through. Please pick up. It's urgent. I almost laughed out loud. Urgent? It wasn't urgent when she told me to pack my things. It wasn't urgent when I was alone in this motel, trying to figure out my life. Another message, this time from Dad. We need to talk, please. The word need hit hard. Then, finally, a message from Lily, I'm sorry. I froze. I couldn't believe my eyes. Lily had never apologized to me, not for the lies, not for the manipulation, not for always making me the bad guy. The phone rang again. It was Mom. This time, I answered. I didn't say a word at first, just listened. Brianna? Brianna, please don't hang up, Mom's voice came through, shaky and panicked. I could hear Dad in the background, louder than usual, saying put it on speaker. There was a lot of movement and tension in the background. I could sense that something was breaking in that house I had left behind. What happened? I asked, surprisingly calm. There was a long pause. Then Mom spoke again, but her voice had changed. It was desperate, no longer cold or controlling. We made a mistake, she said. I closed my eyes. There it was, the admission. But I didn't respond. Then Lily's voice cut in. Her voice was shaky, nothing like her usual confident tone. I told them to say that. I said you were making me sick. I said I couldn't handle being around you. I already knew that. But then she said something I didn't expect. I lied. I wasn't sick because of you. I just didn't want you there anymore. I didn't like that you were starting to stand up for yourself, and that Mom and Dad were finally listening to you sometimes. So I made it worse. I exaggerated everything. My grip on the phone tightened. After 7 days of silence, the truth just came out so casually. Dad spoke next, his voice heavy. We didn't know. We thought. You didn't want to know, I interrupted him. That stopped him in his tracks because it was the truth they didn't want to admit. It was always easier for them to believe that I was the problem than to question Lily. Mom started crying softly. Please come back. We'll fix this. We'll make things right. Fix, right. These words sounded good, but they felt so empty. I looked around the small hotel room. The plain walls, the single bag by the chair, and the quiet. For the first time in my life, I felt like I could breathe. You kicked me out. You didn't even hesitate, I said slowly. Dad quickly replied, we were wrong. We'll make it up to you. I let out a small breath. That's the thing about people who break things. They always think they can fix them with the right words at the right time, but timing matters, and theirs had already passed. I'm not coming back, I said firmly. There was a heavy, crushing silence on the other end. Mom's voice broke. Brianna, please. No, I said, even firmer. You don't get to throw me away and then call me back when it's convenient. Lily started crying again, but it didn't affect me like it used to. I could see everything clearly now. I hope you figure things out, I said. I really do. But I'm done being the easiest person to blame. Dad made one last attempt. At least let us help you. I don't need help, I replied. Not from people who only see my value when I'm gone. And with that, I hung up. No hesitation, no second thoughts. I sat there for a moment, looking at the now silent phone. And then, something unexpected happened. I smiled. Not because it didn't hurt, but because for the first time, the hurt didn't control me. The next morning, I checked out of the motel. I didn't have a perfect place to go, but I was finally ready to move forward, on my own terms. That's the part they'll never understand. They thought kicking me out would break me, but all it did was set me free.